And that means the ordinary of the festival, right? The ordinary days of the festival. There still will be special things that are going on, but or the intermediary days, if you want a nicer English translation, right? There will still be special things going on. In biblical times, there would have been sacrifices every day. But you can work. Now, when I say you can work, again, right, in a Reformed context, you're going to have people who are working on the first day of Passover. Honestly, in most Orthodox synagogues, you're going to have people who are working on the first day. They're just going to feel more guilty about it. All right. 7 days you shall make offerings by fire. Seventh day. Now we're verse 9. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, when you enter the land that I'm giving to you and reap its harvest, you shall bring the first sheep of your harvest to the priest." We're going to skip ahead now, but if you're looking on your calendar, we're in what's called the counting of the Omer. And maybe what you'll do is put a little star by holidays that are mentioned in the Torah. Okay, so put a star by Passover, put a star by counting of the Omer. Holocaust Memorial Day is not going to be mentioned in the Torah. Is the Memorial Day for Israel's soldiers not going to be mentioned in the Torah? Right? Israel Independence Day, not going to be mentioned in the Torah, so those will not get stars. Okay? Everyone understands why those days are not mentioned in the Torah? Okay, good. Smart group. All right. We're going to skip to verse 15. Okay? Because the Omer I'm going to explain more when we get there. "And from the day on which you bring the sheaf of elevation offering, the day after the Sabbath, you shall count off 7 weeks. They must be complete." That's our counting of the Omer. "You must count until the day after the 7th week, 50 days. Then you shall bring an offering of new grain to the Lord. You shall bring from your settlements 2 loaves of bread." More offerings, more sacrifices. We can skip to verse 21. "On that same day," we're now 7 weeks after the beginning of Passover, "on that same day you shall hold a celebration. It shall be a good sacred occasion, a Yom Tov. You shall not work at your occupations. This is a law for all time in your settlements throughout the ages." What holiday are we at? We finished the counting of the Omer through Sivan, and we get to Shavuot. Good. Okay? Shavuot. So you can put a star by Shavuot. Then we have a miscellaneous law stuck in there. "When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap all the way to the edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. You shall leave them for the poor and the stranger." This becomes one of the main texts for the Jewish importance of tzedakah, of charity, right? And what else does it show? I heard Rabbi talking about it. How did we define our year? How did we define the times of the year and what was important? Seasons and the harvest, right? All of these festivals were based around the harvest because that's when we were thinking about needing God's help, right? All right, so we got through Shavuot. Verse 23, "The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelite people thus, in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you shall observe complete rest, a Yom Tov, good. You shall not work at your occupations, and you shall bring an offering by fire to the Lord. What day are we on? Rosh Hashanah, good. Does the Torah say anything about a new year? No. Okay, it's the first day of the 7th month. Okay? Then, we have marked the 10th day of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. What are we at? Yom Kippur. So right now we should have a star by Rosh Hashanah and by Yom Kippur. Even though the holidays may be observed differently, they're still biblical holidays. It shall be a sacred occasion for you. You shall practice self-denial. You can underline that. You still do it, right? You can also underline in verse 24, loud blasts. What is loud blasts talking about? The shofar, right? The ram's horn. All of these things that we're going over quickly, each of these holidays is going to get their own week later on. So don't get frustrated. Well, you can get frustrated with whatever you want, but know that the things we're skipping quickly, it's because we're going to go back to them later on in the course. You shall do no work throughout the day, for it is a day of atonement on which expiation is made on your behalf before the Lord your God. Indeed, any person who does not practice self-denial throughout the day shall be cut off from his kin. Whoever does any work throughout the day, I will cause that person to perish from among his people. Do no work. If you've never read this stuff, it's good. Do no work, whatever. It is a law for all time, throughout the ages, in all your settlements. It shall be a Sabbath of complete rest for you. We call Yom Kippur Shabbat HaShabbatot, the Sabbath of all Sabbaths. And you shall practice self-denial on the 9th day of the month at evening. From evening to evening you shall observe this your Sabbath. Every single Jewish holiday, every single Jewish day begins when? Sunset. Sunset. The Jewish day begins at sunset and goes to sunset. And it goes all the way back to the book of Genesis. Anyone want super extra brownie points? What verse? Huh?
In the beginning it was dark.
Good thought. In the beginning it was dark. There's one verse from Genesis that repeats 7 times.
There's evening and there was
Good. Through the creation story, at the end of each day, we see there was evening, there was morning, a first day. There was evening, there was morning, the second day. Evening, morning, third day. Okay? So, for that reason, and other reasons as well, but that's our biblical proof text, if you will, for why the Hebrew day begins at sunset and goes to sunset. Does that make sense to everyone? Good. Yes?
What does it mean, practice self-denial?
Self-denial, okay, now we're going to, that's all it says. Okay, now this is what I'm talking about with what we have biblically versus what we do today. All we have in the Torah is self-denial. Okay? Now, as we go through the Talmud and the other works, and we'll talk about this when we talk about Yom Kippur, we're going to find out about fasting, right? Not eating, and we're going to find all the other things that are prohibited on Yom Kippur. Okay? Another one, right? It says no work may be done on that day. Well, what does that mean? Right? Those of you who know Orthodox Judaism know what Orthodox Jews say that means, right? But what does it say here? All it says is no work may be done, right? Again, even for traditional Jews, and really even for Jews at the time, the Torah doesn't tell everything we need to know. The Torah is our starting point, okay? And it doesn't mean that rabbis were making stuff up. It means that what Jews were doing and what Jews learned to do over time, right? It's about tradition. It's about the passing on of tradition. It's not all in here. Okay? Where was I? I think I'm, so verse 33, I think. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, say to the Israelite people, on the 15th day of this 7th month, so where are we? Sukkot. Good, Sukkot. On the 15th, so you can start Sukkot, there shall be the Feast of Booths. Sukkot means booths. Okay? to the Lord to last 7 days. Michael, did you notice both of these 7 days? Okay. The first day shall be a sacred occasion, a Yom Tov. Now, what would we expect is going to be the next Yom Tov? If it's a 7-day holiday, Passover, we have the first day and the 7th day. So if Sukkot is a 7-day festival, don't read ahead. What are you going to expect? The 7th day. But they're going to throw us for a, what's it called? Throw us for a loop? Throw us a loop? I don't know. Throw us a, anyway. So the first day shall be a sacred occasion, a Yom Tov. You shall not work on your occupations. 7 days you shall bring offerings by fire to the Lord. On the 8th day you shall observe a Yom Tov. Good. And bring an offering by fire to the Lord. It is a solemn gathering. You shall not work at your occupations. Now that we haven't seen before, right? This solemn gathering is on your calendar, Shmini Atzeret. Shmini Atzeret is the 8th day. It's really after Sukkot. And again, when we get to Sukkot, I don't have the syllabus anymore. But this one is super confusing. Don't worry about it right now. Just know that it's different than Passover. And wait till we get to Hanukkah, because I'm really going to blow your minds then. Okay? Because how long is Hanukkah? 8 days. 8 days. So remember Sukkot. All right. Those are the set times of the Lord that you shall celebrate as sacred occasions, bringing offerings by fire to the Lord, burnt offerings, meal offerings, sacrifices, death, apart from the Sabbaths of the Lord, and apart from your gifts, and from all your votive offerings, and from all your freewill offerings that you give to the Lord. So those aren't the only sacrifices that were made, but those were the ones that were tied to the festivals. Now what I want you to do is to look at your calendar and see all of the holidays that are not from the Torah. Okay, Hanukkah. Right, Hanukkah is later. Purim. Purim is later. Obviously all the ones having to do with Israel. And a lot of the ones that probably even some of the Jewish people in here have not heard of. Some of those are minor fast days, and those will all come later as well. Okay? But what we have in the Torah, we have Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And then we have what are called the 3 pilgrimage festivals, which was the times when everyone would come to Jerusalem, to the temple, to make their offerings. And that's Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Oh my goodness. Okay. I may set the tone of me possibly going over by a few minutes tonight. Know that I really, really, really will try not to. But sometimes it will happen, and if people have to walk out at 8:30, I understand, but you're going to miss the dance at the end. Okay. Now, we saw biblically, first month, second month, third month, no names. The names come from the Babylonian calendar, and they're attached to our calendar at a later date. Why is Nisan the first month? Well, we know Nisan is the first month because the Torah says Passover is in the first month. Right? Why is the new year in the 7th month? If you look underneath the passage we just read, and this is something that anyone, we don't learn this in Sunday school, okay? And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, but just bear with me. From the Talmud, okay, there are 4 new years. Now, we're only going to worry about a couple of them, but I'm going to read the whole thing to you. On the 1st of Nisan, that is the first of, which is Nisan? The first month, okay? On the 1st of Nisan is a new year for kings and for festivals. So what that means is that in ancient times, a new king would take rank.